We're floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. Hi, welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown. We hope to inspire, entertain, and learn something so we can all make this world a better place for our children. I'd like to introduce to you somebody who's my friend, my wingman, my main man, and I have a wingman watching my back, Dr. Paul Thompson. Hey, Paul, what's happening?
Oh, not much. Hello, everyone. I'm Paul Thompson, and you just heard from Mr. Drew Brown, Dark Gable. He's the American dream. He's the man, the myth, the legend, the pilot's pilot, the role model's role model, and most importantly, his royal fullness. How are you doing today, Mr. Dark Gable?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad I'm full of knowledge, Paul. I'm glad I'm full of knowledge. Well, we're going to have a great show right now. Check this out. Dr. Paul, how are you, my brother?
Pretty good, Dark Gable. How are you on this fine, cool, crisp day?
Man, I am so good. You know, there's a lot of things happening today, but we're going to start off. Don't you have a Wingman story that you want to tease or something? Because this is incredible.
Yeah, well, let me see. Now, you believe in Santa Claus, I know. Is that right? You believe in Santa Claus?
100% yes.
And you still make your children write a letter to Santa Claus every year?
No, I don't make them. If they don't get anything. It's not my fault. It's Santa.
Okay. All right. Well, Santa Claus lives in the North Pole, but we're going to talk about a Santa Claus, a wingman Santa Claus, but this Santa Claus was the gift himself.
How about that one? Not even during Christmas, I bet.
No, wintertime, but not Christmas.
How about that one? Great. I can't wait. So anyway, I know you've been to Costco this month. You know, I did my Peloton early because we were going to tape this show. And when I was thinking about Peloton, today I think I did cycling and yoga, actually. Katrina and I did. But there's something else. Peloton went down the tubes. They just changed CEOs, yes. They lost, they're going to cut 2,500 jobs. They're going to cut $800 million from their annual cost because they were making the bet that people weren't going to go back to gyms, that people were just going to stay home and work on their equipment. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is that it reminds me of a story when we lived in the Virgin Islands in St. Thomas. There was this restaurant that opened up in the Virgin Islands. It's really hard to start a business. I'll be honest. The people are finicky. It's a tourist thing sometimes, or the island people. It's just not an easy task. Anyway, this guy opened up Cocapelli's. It was a wonderful restaurant too. I remember they had $14 or $13 gyro. Mm-hmm. What did we say in New York? Gyros?
They said gyros, falafel.
Yeah. No, falafel's totally different. Falafel's a Jewish hummus that's fried. No, gyros is how they say it. Okay, yes. Gyros. Anyway, remember there was a great one across the street from Madison Square Garden, but it was like $4. It was the biggest thing you could ever have. You could eat 2 sandwiches from it. Yes. So anyway, they wanted $14, and I used the N-word 100%. I said, I'm never going to buy this. So it wound up being my favorite thing to go buy. Anyway, he was doing really well. But in the beginning, he was like, man, I'm doing so well. I think I'm going to open up another one. I said, why don't you just lay low a little bit and see how things are going to happen, how things are going to progress. Anyway, long story short, he opened up another one. Both of them in the end collapsed. And it's just sometimes people's greed for money and more and more and more and more sometimes ruins them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happened with Peloton. I'm sure they'll get back on their feet. I think the new CEO was the CEO from Spotify or something. But what do you think about that?
Well, you know, I don't have a Peloton. I know that's really for the rich and famous. But I would think after a while, you get a little tired of just like looking at a screen and being inside. To me, I'd rather be outside. And the pandemic's not going to last forever. But I guess they over-indexed on everybody just staying in one spot, doing that every day. Thing is, with a lot of our exercise equipment, most people who buy exercise equipment don't use it. In fact, there's a reason. If you look at most of the stuff that's been sold on TV late at night, and I got some of this myself, it's always such that you can put it under a bed. That's on most of it's like that. That's on purpose because they already know that people aren't going to use it. And if they can put it out of the way, they'll buy it and not return it. That's a strategy that's been used from the 70s. It worked pretty well. I got a couple of things that, I ended up giving. I used like once or twice. They were always lightweight too. And it's like, what is this here? I never used it. It was okay when the snowstorm hit. When the snowstorm goes, I'm not doing this. I'm going outside. So
yeah, well, guess what? I disagree with you 100% because Peloton saved my life.
Okay.
Because it's in my house and because it costs so much, I'm going to use it. Okay. I'm at a different level now than I was earlier. Okay. This is big. I'm 17 years old. I just have 50 years experience. And when I pay this much money for a piece of equipment that was well worth it, because now I put it on the big screen TV, the Peloton. I'm not looking at a little screen anymore. It's on a big screen TV, and I'm doing weights. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing boxing now. So there's a lot of things. See, it's about exercising. It's not about how you do it, why you do it, if you do it. It's about consistency, and Peloton has saved my life. And my life is great. And this is what I got to tell you, Dr. Paul. This is our golden show. This is our 50th show. This is our anniversary, Dr. 50. Paul. And first of all, I'd like to thank you so much for bringing a dream of mine to life. And I couldn't do it with a better person. I need everybody out there to know this. Dr. Paul's the bomb. And if you would, please go on Apple and give a review for the show. The person we're working with says that if you start reviewing this show, well, the numbers will start going up. But that's not why we're doing it. And that's why it's so great. Dr. Paul and I want to get our voice out. We believe in something. We are successful. We worked for it. But this is our 50th show. And what I wanted to say is that I've accomplished a lot of things in my life, and so have you. We're authors. We're both Navy jet pilots. We're both international pilots. There are things on our resumes. Every single one of them took hard work. Every single one of them, including this. And just to let people know how this started, it was a thing I've been wanting to do for a long time. My daughter, Taryn, always tells me, Dan, why don't you get a radio show? Why don't you do radio? Well, anyway, here's the podcast, but it was my birthday last year. And when you and I contacted on my birthday, we worked every single day. There were no Saturdays. There were no Sundays. There were no Mondays. It was every day until we got this podcast rolling. And now we're celebrating our 50th show. And I know that we do have some listeners internationally. They say people in New Zealand are listening. They say people in the Philippines are listening. And more, in Europe. Thank God for all of them. But I want to just say that when I asked you in our meeting, can you give me some, pros, cons, whatever's on the show on a year of working together every day, you told me, you think we should get another camera? So today we're using new cameras. But for you to only have that comment is a blessing that you just don't know, because you usually can't find people that you love to work with and that there's just no hassle. There's no competition. There's no aggravation. And I think that's one of the keys to our friendship.
Yeah. Well, thank you for inviting me to do this. It's been quite a journey. First thing, I'd like to give a shout out to two of our wingmen that help us get things set up. That's Mr. Matthew Bivens and our high-tech wingman we work with each week, Brandon Gelinas. They've been instrumental in getting us to this point. As Drew said, it wasn't easy. This is all kind of new stuff to us, and click this and do this and do this. And what do you do this? How did you make this work? And, those two gentlemen have gotten us to this point. So a special shout out to them. I've learned a lot of things. And like I say, everything takes hard work. Nothing's really ever come easy for me. Maybe writing, I've had a little facility for that, I've been told. Other than that, everything is kind of
But it's not easy, Dr. Paul. You got to sit down and write.
Yeah, you got to do it.
That's the point. A lot of people say, I want to write a book. It's called a pad and a pencil, period. That's my point here. And here's another big thing that I want to get out. Everything that's worth something is uncomfortable in the beginning. Working out with weights, going to school, learning how to fly, learning how to cook, learning how to do anything, learning how to play the piano. You suck in the beginning. Can you get through that uncomfortable part? to where it becomes smooth. That shot key that my son gave me with the needles that I do my meditation now is exactly that. It hurts like hell in the first 2 minutes. Well, it used to, but your mind gets used to it. And once you get through it, it puts you in a different state of meditation, honest to God. But that's what got me thinking about this. You always have to go through something uncomfortable. You don't think my son and my daughter going through med school and law school, the words they were hearing in the beginning, that had to be uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable when he talks to me sometimes with some of the medical terminology. But you have to get through the uncomfortable. And that's what we did. We worked every day. We knew nobody was listening to us in our first couple of shows. I mean, my kids, and I don't know if they listen anymore. Point being, we still did it. And I want to congratulate you, Dr. Paul, and say thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. To everybody out there, just keep at it. Stick with it. Keep working. Just keep working.
No doubt about it. You know, we're coming up to Super Bowl. Now, I love to go to Vegas. And I gamble a little bit, so I don't want to lie on camera. But I don't gamble anymore. I mean, big time. I don't bet on things anymore. And the reason is that I would have bet my house, my family, and me that Flavor Flav wouldn't have married Bridget Nielsen. Back in the day when they were both big, I would have taken that bet.
Yeah.
Okay? So would you have taken the bet back in the day that Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Dr. Dre, that they would be at a Super Bowl halftime? Now, Snoop Dogg, just bought Death Row Records, and that's where he put out his first albums. But there's no way with the things that they have said in the past, and I heard a TV show who doesn't think the same way I do, but anyway, they were saying, he said, F the police. F the police. Is this where our Super Bowl is headed? What do you think, Dr. Paul?
Well, I guess it is. It's amazing that what was on the periphery, that was started, depending on who you debate, somewhere in Brooklyn or Queens, has become a worldwide movement. Now, some of the West Coast people would disagree with that, but a large part
there's no
a large part of your rap stuff is in Southeast Queens, between Jamaica, Hollis, St. Albans, and those are the big three.
That's where
the thing is that those people you talk about Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Dr. Dre, Mary J. Blige, they're headliners. I mean, that's the whole halftime show. And look at the movement that they're in. They're not young people. Snoop is 50, Eminem is the baby at 49, Dr. Dre is 56. Mary J. Blige, 51. They could all, with Eminem real close, they could do AARP commercials. They get AARP card. I wouldn't be surprised to see him later on doing ads for Medicare supplement plans, Medicare Advantage plans. Probably do pretty well, with it.
Jimmy
with that
Walker's doing it now. Jimmy Walker's doing those.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Now.
Right.
Dynamite.
Right. But that'll reverberate. Some people will identify with that, so they'll probably do the same thing. But yeah, I guess it's a mainstream show now. It's mainstream.
You know that Dr. Dre's a billionaire.
Yeah. I helped him.
So did I with the beats.
Yeah.
You got some in China too. I don't know if that helped them.
Well,
when we flew to China, it said beats. I thought it helped them, but anyway.
Yeah, I got plenty of them. They were affordable. They didn't last very long, but. He
sold it to Apple. I mean, he's a billionaire. These are real business people. And Snoop bought Death Row Records. You know how he paid for it, right? You seen how many commercials he's on now? How many? They sell that Corona commercial every day, and you get paid every time it shows. So he's definitely, he's in the money now. They're all making big money.
That purchase is probably into the hundreds of millions of dollars to buy that record label.
I do have to say this about Eminem. Him and Ice Cube are the only ones that I think are really mad when they're spitting, and that means when they're rhyming, when they're rapping. Mm-hmm. But Eminem, I just want to tell you how bad this dude is. There's rap wars all the time, me against him against me, and they say it on the records, little things on the records. Nobody bothers Eminem because he would take it so far, and he's so good. He's so freaking good that they couldn't live it down. In other words, everybody knows who to battle, but nobody's battled Eminem. So I did want to put that in there because, I'm down with it. I know what time it is.
What time is it?
It's time to talk about the Olympics.
Okay.
Okay, so remember we were talking about the Olympics, and I read an article to you, and it started off by saying that Michaela Schiffer, she crashed on the slopes, and she didn't win two of her big events. And then another woman disappointed everybody and didn't win. And then a third person fell. Oh, and by the way, Nathan Chen won the gold medal. The girl won the snowboarding girl gold medal. This guy who had cancer 2 years ago came back, worked out, recouped himself, and won a gold medal. And yet they were on the bottom of the story. And that's how I think we're starting to get. I think people need to really listen to the media, listen to what's going on, because everything you hear is not true. You know, why do they grab the first thing is negative? And the truth is because it's called viewership. Everything is run on money, advertising dollars. And if people get more, like we go to the Good News Network, you know, to get some of our Wingman stories, right?
Yes.
Well, nobody else goes to the Good News Network.
Right.
They'd rather go to the Post, wherever, or the Inquirer. Remember that?
Yes. Oh, yes. So they still have it at the checkout stands. I look at it every once in a while, see what the Queen Elizabeth is doing, and some other celebrities. They take a bad shots of them, and they write really good headlines.
Really good
headlines,
especially the Post, New York Post. But what do you think about the media? What do you think about us gathering this information from the media? How we can regenerate that and say, hey, I just saw that the good stuff really did happen. Because I focus on good. I got 30, how old am I? 67?
Yeah.
I got 33 more years. You know, anything over 100 is bonus. But I'm not going to waste time on the negative anymore, Dr. Paul. I'm not.
Well, the negative, they say if it bleeds, it leads. They like bad stuff. I mean, do you slow down for like a car accident or if everything's going okay?
Oh, my God, do I turn the other way? I do not want to see a head rolling down the highway. No way am I looking at that thing.
No, I'm not just saying if you see a bunch of flashing blue lights or whatever, you know, what's this up here? Everybody's slowing down. And there's nothing. There's no traffic. It's just flashing blue lights. And we just go. That's just kind of a natural thing, you know. If it bleeds, it leads. Bad news sells. Good news is boring. We want something exciting, particularly since the world seems to be going through a number of upheavals everywhere you look. The guy coming back from cancer is less interesting than World War III about to break out every other second.
Yeah, but the girl slipped and fell during her event, and they said she crashed.
Well, that sounds. I mean, I've had people tell me they were involved in a plane crash. We crash landed. That's what happened. They said, a tire blew. They blew one of the tires.
Mm-hmm.
Then she said, we crash landed this morning. What? You look pretty good. Yeah, you blew a tire. Oh, okay. Serious. Okay. All right. It's all relative.
This is a Wingman PSA. Everybody is a LeBron James in something. If you're young, go to school, find out what your skill is, work hard at it, and you will be successful. Success is waking up every day, doing something that you love and doing it well. This has been a golden PSA from the Wingmen Show.
That's good. Very good. Good advice.
I think it even sounds better with the horn not working, maybe.
I think so too. It's just the visual is good enough. You know, people, if they just look and say, what's he doing now? Yeah, they'll listen.
Did you hear the news that Frontier and Spirit are about to merge? The two very cheapest airlines are going to merge to be the cheapest airline. One of the reporters who spoke about the Frontier Spirit merger, they said the two worst airlines are going to combine to be the worser or the worstest. So anyway, they're going to join together. And the reason I'm bringing this up is not because of them, but because of us. We were FedEx pilots when we bought Flying Tigers, and we went through a merger. Yeah. And we also went through a unionizing that, I'll be honest with you, I'll give you my little take. In the beginning, I was very against it. FedEx treated us very well. You know, once I got in the industry, we were the best treated pilots in the industry. Mm-hmm. And we were almost the most well paid. We are the most well paid now. But back then, we were right there. I remember the big screen was Delta plus a nickel. Well, I'm glad we don't get Delta plus a nickel anymore. But anyway, getting back to that, they wanted to unionize us. I'll never forget that. And people who I really looked up to wanted a union, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it at all. In the end, we needed a union. And I don't know why the company changed the way it did. And I guess we started it off with that, that greed thing. And it's not FedEx, it's all corporations. Anybody who makes money, the first thing they want to do is make more money. And I remember my company was People Service Profit. Mm-hmm. And I just hope it doesn't turn into profit service people. What do you think about the merger? What do you think about unions? Tell me, Doc.
Yeah, the mergers, Frontier and Spirit. I never took Spirit Airlines. I heard a lot of jokes about it. I took Frontier a few times years ago going out to Denver. It was okay. It was low cost. They did all right. The thing with mergers from a pilot's perspective is, there's a lot to do. You're putting two different cultures. But the big thing for pilots is something called seniority. Seniority determines your life, your pay, your vacation, everything. It's everything. And the big thing with these airline mergers, they merge the seniority list of pilots. And a person that has a position that their original position may not be the same as a merged position. With the Tiger merger, with me, my position actually moved up. I was part of a group. There were 5 groups. I was in group 2. Group 2 actually moved up significantly. The other 3 groups, not so much. So what happens is that you have these mergers and you have a lot of hard feelings, particularly for people who've lost out or moved down. And they stay angry for 20 to 50 years. It's a permanent thing. In addition, there are differences in ways that people operate the airplanes, procedures. I heard the same thing with Northwest and Delta, for example. All kinds of horror stories. So there's an adjustment. Basically, you're merging families, and those families are oftentimes stereotypically the Hatfields and McCoys, but eventually they get together. So this merger, they got to get permission from regulatory authorities, the White House, and all that. It'll probably take 2 years because even when Tigers and FedEx merged, it didn't happen in one day. You operated separately for, I don't know, it was about a year or 2 or so. And then things kind of came together. And it's when they kind of come together, it's tough. And the thing about the seniority is that it typically comes down to an arbitrator because they can't agree on the seniority merger. So there's an arbitrator that says, okay, you're here, you're this, you're number 1, you're number 2, you're not to 1,000 or 10,000. And people get angry at the arbitrator. There's
a lot of resentment. And sometimes it's in the cockpit. I heard Delta and Northwest pilots wouldn't even talk to each other if they were on a flight.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous. That the problem is you need to communicate in an airplane.
Yes. Yeah.
But when Frontier and Spirit merged, remember, or if they're going to merge or when they merge, competition for lower priced airlines is going to go away. Because the reason the prices were so low is because Spirit would drop it, Frontier would drop it. Spirit would drop it, Frontier would drop it. Well, there's nobody to drop it now. So they can raise their prices just up under the majors.
Yeah.
So it's really going to hurt the public.
True. They may start flying to some of these places that the majors have cut off recently in the less populous areas where they cut service. So maybe they'll go to those markets and they may charge a lot of money. You're right. If you want to fly out of Podunk, whatever, to the big cities, you may have to pay for it. And they'll say, well, what else are you going to do? Everybody else pulled out.
A quick thing I want to ask you. The other day when we were working online, the internet was messing up. And do you know that they just had a disaster in space? You want to talk about that? Because I need Starlink. I live out in the country, kind of. And this is Elon Musk trying to get internet to the world. And I did have no idea there were thousands of satellites he's put up. I think 1,900 already.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
There's 2,000 satellites, and I think it was on February the 3rd or so. They shot up like 40 more satellites to be deployed. Okay, no problem. Well, I guess there was a problem. From wherever they were in the orbit, there was like a solar storm. Some solar flares erupted, and I didn't know this before, but apparently it has an effect on the atmosphere where it increases the air density, however much air is up there, or at least the atmospheric density at that orbiting level, such that with a greater density, there's more drag on these little small space vehicles, and they can't maintain the orbit, and they're coming back down to Earth.
Gravity.
Gravity. It's going to bring them back down into the atmosphere where they're going to burn up. So they said this was just like a small solar thing that popped out. So I guess they got to decide, where they want these things to orbit so they won't be as affected. They said that was just a small solar burst. They didn't say anything about the other satellites. Maybe they're in different orbits. That's the problem. You got a problem with space junk. Just recently, this is just a little bit of a diversion, but the Russians blew up an old satellite. They shot it with a missile. So you can have wars in space now. And it burst to, I don't know, it's got a couple thousand pieces. So you got a bunch of pieces going around. And it's possible some of these pieces they even threatened the International Space Station for a while. They had them kind of evacuate into certain parts of the space station in case.
Yeah, and Doc, explain to them this is not a little piece of metal, just like if you watch on television, floating through the air. Oops, I bumped into you. They're going
bumping in maybe
speeds.
15,000. Everything's doing at 15,000 miles an hour. So I guess if you're off angle or whatever, that impact may be could be fatal. So there definitely is a space jam.
How about this space jam? Did you see the last one with LeBron James?
I did not. I heard about it. I did not see it.
Well, I don't want to bust. I remember I said everybody's a LeBron James. Well, maybe not in acting, but anyway.
Okay. The first one, the acting was not great. Was Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing. I mean, they didn't get.
Some people can and some people can't. Some people are very natural with it. Very natural. It's amazing. Dr. Paul, don't you have a Wingman story you want to enlighten us with?
Yeah, talk about Santa Claus. Well,
let me ask you this.
Oh.
If people like the show, what should they do?
Please, everyone, when you get a chance, maybe right now or right after the show, if you would go to Apple Podcasts and write a review for The Wingmen Show. It's Apple Podcasts, write a review for The Wingmen Show. It would help us out. Just tell us what you think, good or bad. Hopefully it's good. Maybe it's bad. But if we can learn something and get better, that's really what we need to do. So we look forward to your feedback. And we look forward to your feedback. Anyway, getting back to the Wingmen, this is a Santa Claus-like figure, but it doesn't take place in the North Pole, but it's getting close. It's up in Saskatchewan, Canada. And there's this, not long ago, there was this college administrator that was doing a favor for a student. And there was a forecast of very, very bad weather coming early in the evening. So that afternoon, she made this drive, like a 25-mile drive to the campus to give this financial aid to this student, something they got to do in Canada. So she was on her way back home 5 hours before the storm was supposed to hit. Well, the weather forecast was off. The storm hit. She couldn't figure out where she was on the main road, so she took a dirt road she thought would parallel her course better. That didn't work. So the weather gets worse. She doesn't know where she is till a big truck goes by. She follows the truck till the truck stops. And she asks him, how do I get out of here? He said, I don't know. Or words to that effect, and jumps in his truck and leaves. She really doesn't know where she is, but she did have presence of mind to have a full tank of gas and a fully charged phone. So she's driving and things are looking worse and worse. And she finally gets to a point where she doesn't know where she is. It's not safe to drive, doesn't know. So she just calls 911, what's your emergency, tells her what it is. They track her down. She says, someone will call you. Keep your phone on for a rescue. Mm-hmm. Well, she said 14 hours later, nobody called. She's in her car for 14 hours. She doesn't know what's going on. So she gets on Facebook She gets on Facebook and she parts some Facebook group and tells people of her plight. And there's this gentleman named, what was his name?
Bouvier.
Andre Bouvier. Andre Bouvier. I call him Santa Claus. Andre Bouvier, who was actually also on this group, is part of this group, and he realizes that she's near where he lives. He's 80 years old. He knows something about tech. He's tech savvy. He gets out and he walks about a quarter of a mile, a little bit more than that, right to her car.
In the blizzard.
In the blizzard. They call this a Saskatchewan screamer. So it must be pretty bad if it's bad in Canada.
His wife begged him not to go.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Don't leave. He's 80 years old, goes out, walks, leads her, and her car is drivable, finds her, knocks on the window, leads her back to his house. And she finds when she gets back there, there's two other cars there, other people who got lost. And he rescues them. And he basically they take them in the house, they feed them, they tell jokes, let them stay for the night. And the next day they were able to go home. He's a wingman that basically saved lives. And she was ever grateful and told the story. So sometimes old people can do a lot more than you think they can do.
Well, I'm glad I'm not old. Remember, 17 with 50 years experience. And you're only old if you think you're old. I'm very proud of my age. I am who I am. And I wouldn't change anything, or I wouldn't be sitting here right now. But the nicest thing about that wingman is when they told him he was a hero and, he's so great. And he said, I just did what anybody would do. Yeah. And I hope this country and this world gets back to treating people like that.
Yes, that's a good story. And that's an example of good news.
50 shows. Bust them, Paul. Bust them.
We'll keep doing it.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.